Well, hello, Chuck Gone here. I thought what I'd do in this particular video is to start off by asking a question. Do me a favor and look at this paper and tell me what you see. Tell me what you see. I imagine that most of you see this COVID-19 virus. And if you're thinking that, then you are correct. But I'm wondering if a few of you might see beyond the virus and be able to see the white space that surrounds it. You know, really it boils down to where you're placing your focus of attention. And what I'd like to do in today's video is really just kind of talk about a spiritual discipline that'll help you focus your attention away from the negative things, such as COVID-19, and onto the positive things, the good gifts of God. In this brief series, what I'm doing is kind of taking people to spiritual discipline so that when you leave this period of isolation, you will be more equipped to be able to deal with the many challenges facing you in the weeks and the months and the years to come. And what I want to do is focus today on, again, the spiritual discipline of gratitude. You know, the word gratitude, it can be defined in a lot of ways, but simply speaking, it's really the quality of being thankful. And we know from the last video is that a spiritual discipline, is just a way of training in godliness. So in a nutshell, the spiritual discipline of gratitude is really just training to be more thankful. Training to be more thankful. How do you do it? Well, let's first talk about the why do you do it. Why should we practice the spiritual discipline of thankfulness or gratitude? Well, there's a lot of very practical benefits to doing so. You know, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a scientist, but apparently research has shown that actually practicing gratitude or practicing thankfulness will reduce or can reduce your stress level. It can also lower your chances of getting depression. It can increase your energy, apparently. It can also help you to sleep better at night. And what I learned recently, it can actually help you help boost your immune system. And who can't use a little boost to their immune system today? So it has a lot of spiritual, not emotional and physical benefits, but it also has a lot of spiritual benefits. There's a lot of spiritual benefits to practicing the discipline of thankfulness. Because what it does, it shifts your focus again off the negative things and onto the good gifts of God. And God is the giver of good gifts. In fact, there's a passage that speaks of this, James 1:17, where James writes, "Every good and perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of heavenly lights, who does not change like shifting shadows." Every good and perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of the heavenly lights, who does not change like shifting shadows. That's a great passage. Again, speaks to the value, or speaks to the fact that all good gifts come from God. And so if we focus on the good gifts, it'll not only draw us away from the negative things of life, it will actually draw us to, or closer to, the giver of those gifts, God Himself. You know, as a side note, I was looking at the word gratitude, and I found that it has some European roots that basically mean that this word gratitude has a meaning behind it to praise or to celebrate, or actually to connect with the divine. So when you are practicing this discipline of gratitude, it's as if you're living more in the presence of God, just basking in God, enjoying His presence. And if you do it on a regular, ongoing basis, you're going to deepen your union with God, your connection with God, so much so that eventually the peace of God is going to begin to transform not simply your body, not simply your mind, but your spirit. Again, you're going to begin to look and act more like Jesus and to respond like Jesus. And I know some of you are thinking about this time, well, Chuck, you know, that's all well and good, but you know, in case you haven't noticed, you know, the world is in a bit of a crisis. You know, you watch the news, and again, a lot of bad things are happening out there. People are living in a state of isolation. People are being isolated from their friends and their family. People have been losing their retirement income, their investments. You know, businesses have been closing. The stock market is down. Not to mention the fact that people are just dying left and right. That's a lot of bad news. But the good news about that, if there is any good news, it's that it actually creates an environment where we are able to practice the discipline of gratitude very well. A great environment, an environment that's ripe to be thankful. You know, you've all heard the phrase, no pain, no gain. Well, again, you know, as we know, some of the most painful moments in life can be some of the most spiritually forming points of life. You know, and that's why, you know, during this season, we know that it's very painful. We know, though, that when we leave this dire situation, if we're able to practice the thankfulness in the midst of this painful, dire situation, that when we leave it, we're going to leave not only more nor physically healthy, but spiritually healthy. We're going to be like Jesus because, again, one of the most thankful people in all the world has ever lived was Jesus Christ himself. Anyway, so that's why we do it. But how do we do it? Well, there's a lot of ways to practice thankfulness, but one bit of advice is we want to start slow. Like any discipline, let's say you're starting to lift weights. You want to make sure that you start slow and you add the weights gradually. Likewise, when you're practicing something as seemingly simple as thankfulness, you want to start slow. You don't want to start out your first day and say, I'm going to find 100 things that I'm going to be thankful for. Because what will happen, you'll get to day 2 or 3 and you'll get burned out. You'll be discouraged because you won't be able to find any more things. No, you have to start off slow and then build up to more things. And really, it's not a matter of quantity, it's a matter of quality. But you can start simply by just, thanking him for the obvious things. Thanking him for the fact that you've got a roof over your head, that you've got a warm shower, that you had a warm cup of coffee or a hot cup of coffee this morning, that you have a subscription to Netflix, that you have Oreo cookies in a cabinet, you're able to enjoy a glass of wine with your spouse, so that you have toilet paper, and everybody's thankful that they have toilet paper right now, even though we're running low. Anyway, again, start with the obvious things, and then what you want to do is begin to start looking for the hidden things of God, the hidden gifts of God, the things that you tend to overlook very easily when things are normal. Maybe something as simple as paying attention or hearing the laughter of your child or your grandchild. Or you're beginning to notice the budding or the blossoming of the flowers and the trees and leaves and that sort of things outside. Or that you just have you're thanking him for your eyes, your eyesight, or your ability to hear, or just your ability to breathe. Or the ability to use technology to be able to connect with somebody in another state or across the world. Again, those are things that you take for granted. You don't see every single day unless you put your spiritual glasses on. Anyway, that's how you can kind of move into this practice of thankfulness. One thing I would suggest, though, that you find somebody that is going to hold you accountable to it. Debbie and I actually recently began to kind of have a little bit of agreement. Before we'd close our eyes, before we'd fall asleep at night, we would each have to say 3 or 4 things that we were thankful for. And again, it starts off kind of easy because it starts off with some obvious things, but after a while, you really have to put your spiritual glasses on. You have to really concentrate to think about what are the things that, again, you often overlook, but are definitely gifts of God. And so I would encourage you to find somebody else, if you're serious about this practice, to find somebody that can help hold you accountable. But do whatever works, but the main thing is that you begin to do it. You begin to practice the discipline of gratitude, the discipline of being thankful. And at some point, you're going to wake up and you're going to look back and say, gosh, I'm pretty good at this. I am beginning to be thankful like Jesus. I'm going to be thankful even to the point of possibly being thankful for the bad things that come in my life, even to the point of being thankful for something like COVID-19. And you say, well, Chuck, that's a little crazy, isn't it? Well, when I say be thankful for COVID-19, I'm not saying be thankful for the disease. I think the disease is evil. But be thankful for the fruit that God allows to come out of it. Be thankful for the things that He gives you through it. Again, the ability to be able to slow down a little bit. The ability to be able to reflect on the things that really matter. The ability to be able to extend a hand, a helping hand to a neighbor or a friend, to connect with people that you never connect with before. Anyway, I want to keep this short, but again, what I would encourage you to do is to practice the discipline of gratitude, the discipline of thankfulness. To begin to be thankful for the many gifts, the many blessings that surrounds us each and every day. One of my favorite passages is John 1:16, where it says that from the fullness of His grace, God gives us one blessing after another. From the fullness of His grace, we receive one blessing after another. So I would encourage you to use this season to look around and be able to see the blessings of God, and then practice the discipline of thankfulness. Until next time, you take care.